Hey, Girl Scouts, it is Brooke coming to you live from my plant room. Today we are working on our junior gardener badge. So I'm just going to wait a couple minutes as folks start to join in on the live stream. But if you're tuning in, I would love if you could share, just so I know you're here. Share your name, where you're from, and then today's little warm-up question will be, what is your favorite plant or flower? So again, we're just going to wait for a couple more folks to join in, but if you are tuning in already, go ahead and put in the chat log your name, where you're tuning in from, and then your favorite plant or flower. I'll wait for a couple of those to come in. Hi, Katie. Hi, Marissa. Hi, Mara. Your favorite plant is hydrangeas. Hi, Angelina. Hello. Where are you all tuning in from? Oh, Angelina is from Troop 3461 GSHPA. Oh, we've got someone from Pennsylvania. Hello. Hi, Aunt Mandy. I hope you and the boys are watching. My family's tuning in as well. Dylan. We've got Lexi from West Virginia. She loves daisies. We've got Cody from Cincinnati. He loves cacti. Bella, her favorite flowers are roses. We've got lots of folks tuning in. The comments are rolling in. Girl Scouts in the heart of Pennsylvania. Bella from New York. Claire from Iowa likes roses. All right, it looks like we've got quite a few folks tuning in. This is so exciting. So as I said earlier, my name is Brooke. I'm a Program and Partnerships Manager from Girl Scouts of Western Ohio's Southern Region out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So I love seeing folks tuning in from all over the place. It's so exciting that I get to connect with you all. So today I'm going to be doing some of the steps for the Junior Gardener Badge. And we're going to focus on indoor gardening today. So indoor gardening is one of my hobbies and passions, and it's something that I don't get to share with Girl Scouts that much. So I'm really excited to talk to you all a little bit more about indoor gardening. So just as a refresh, the 5 steps for the Junior Gardener Badge are to visit a garden, to explore garden design, to learn how to choose garden plants, to experiment with seeds, and then to grow your own garden. So for step 1, we are actually going to, there's a couple different ways that you could complete this. One of the suggestions was to go visit an outdoor garden. So definitely if you have an outdoor garden near your home that you can walk to, that would be really awesome. But also I'm going to show you all my indoor garden today. So I'm sitting out on my sun porch today. As you can see, the sun is shining. I am loving it. And this is not a greenhouse or a hothouse, but I'm going to show you guys some of the different things that I do to grow some really cool plants in here. So I'll give you guys a little tour, but first I just wanted to talk about one of the reasons that I love indoor gardening so much, and that is because I live in Ohio. So as you guys might know, oh, Amanda tuned in. Amanda is from Cincinnati, and her favorite plant is her Pilea peperomioides. And I actually have one of those plants right here. And Amanda actually has a baby from my plant that's her favorite plant. So thanks for tuning in, Amanda. But anyways, as I was saying, one of my favorite parts of indoor gardening is that I can grow plants from all over the world in my home. So I do live here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We experience more of a mild winter. I'm from Michigan originally, so we get a more mild winter here, but still a lot of plants die off in winter. So I actually grow a lot of plants from all over the world inside of my home. So I'll talk about that as I do a little bit of a tour. And it looks like we've got friends from New Jersey and Florida. That's so exciting. So I'm just gonna pick up my camera and show you guys a little bit around my indoor garden. So first, behind me right here, I have, I don't know if you can see it very well. This wall is my cacti and succulent wall. So I'll show you guys some of the different plants. I have this cactus here. This cactus is actually from my friend Sydney's grandma's garden in New Mexico. So this is a little cactus that grows in New Mexico. Again, cactuses don't usually grow in Ohio, so I love that I can grow some cactuses in my home in Ohio. I also have some succulents here, and all of these plants I grow in terracotta pots, and I'll talk a little bit about the different kind of pots that you can use further on in the video. So up on this wall, I have all of my cactuses and succulents. If you have cactuses or succulents in your home, I would love to hear about some of the different plants that you have. Lacey loves sunflowers. That's so exciting. So over here, I have some different types of plants. And I'll talk about some more of these a little bit further on in the video. But one thing that's really cool about indoor gardening is you can grow a lot of different more foliage plants, and foliage means leaves. So this is a type of foliage plant. It's ivy, and you can also grow flowers inside. So my orchid just blew this weekend. All the blooms opened up. So this is my orchid. The flowers are looking really beautiful right now. So those are some of the plants that I have over here, over in this corner, and it's really bright. I hope you can see. I don't think you'll be able to see my face very well right now, but over in this corner, I actually have a humidifier. So a lot of the plants that I grow are plants that are native to rainforests or jungles, and it's super, super humid inside of a rainforest. So to kind of give some of my plants the conditions that they would get in the wild, I have this humidifier, and it adds water droplets and humidity to the room to make it a little bit warmer or more humid for those guys. Give it a little bit more of the growing conditions that they like. Now, another thing that you can do to add humidity to plants that like humidity is I have my little spritzer here. So this just, if you pull the trigger, shoot some water. I'll shoot over my camera. Maybe you guys can see that. So you can also mist plants that like humidity to give them a little bit more humidity. Let's see if I have any questions coming in. We have a Christmas cactus plant. That's so exciting. I also have a Christmas cactus, but it's not in this room. One year my aunt got a cactus for a white elephant and put her hand in the bag and got poked. I frequently get poked by cactuses. It's not fun. Rob said this is really cool. Thanks, Rob. I think it's really cool too. So then along this wall, I have all sorts of different hanging plants. One thing that's really cool about these guys is these are Hoya. And again, they are native to the rainforest. They're grown in a lot of tropical climates. They grow in Thailand and Indonesia and places like that. And one thing that I love about these plants is they actually grow on the trunks of trees. So they grow up trees and they have roots all over them. So they just kind of attach to whatever they're on. So mine are really young, but as they get bigger, they'll start to kind of wind through the hangers that I have them on. Oops, there we go. So I have some hanging plants in my garden room. Another thing that Becca, said, you have a lot of plants. I do have a lot of plants. And then Melinda said, what's your favorite plant? Mara said that too. So my favorite plant changes all the time. My favorite genus of plants is definitely Hoya. I have a ton of different Hoyas along this wall, and I just think that they're all so unique and beautiful. This one's a Hoya macrophylla. And one thing that I love about these guys, I have to go over here, is this one here. I actually have two of it. I love it so much. Is a pink or a crimson princess. Hoya carnosa, and hopefully you guys can see this. The new leaves come in super bright red and pink, so they're really fun. My other favorite plant is actually in a different room in my house. I have a giant rubber plant tree. So maybe at the end, if there's extra time, I can show you guys that plant. Amber is growing morning glories. That's so exciting. A couple other things that I have in this room are I keep a heater in here. So I've got my heater over here. I do keep a space heater in here. Since a lot of my plants are either desert plants or jungle plants, they're used to temperatures between 65 and 75. So I like to keep it warm in this room all year long. And then, oh, Amy has a really good question. She said, how long do your plants usually last? So I actually prefer when my plants don't die. So my rubber plant, that's my favorite plant, is actually 35 years old. So I'm hoping that these plants will be with me for a long time and they'll grow really big and lush, and my plant will just be like my home will just be like a jungle at some point. What plants need the most sunlight? That's a great question. We are going to talk about that in a little bit in the video. Grace says she's always wanted to visit a rainforest. I have too. I've never been to the rainforest, so I grow a rainforest in my home. Allie says, hi. You have so much. This is so cool. This is definitely like a passion and a hobby of mine, so I have tons of different plants. Oh, my neighbor's out. You can see me talking to my computer. Probably thinks I'm silly. How long did it take for the Crimson Princess to grow? So that Crimson Princess I actually just bought from a local grower. He grows all sorts of plants inside of his home, and I'm not sure how long he was growing it before it came to me, but I've had it since November. And since November, this top one actually hasn't popped out any new leaves, but this bottom one has grown 3 new leaves over here. And then it's got some new leaves coming in on this vine as well. The comments are really coming in quick, so I'm trying to catch up and answer the questions that I see. Someone asked how many plants that I have. This is a little bit embarrassing, but at last count I had around 147 plants, so I have a lot of plants in my house. The last thing that I'll show you guys in this room is over here, this setup that I sometimes refer to as my plant hospital. So again, I live in Ohio and we're just coming out of the winter months. So I do have a grow light up here, especially in the winter, my plants don't get as much light as they need. So this grow light, if I can turn it on, there we go. It has a combination of blue and red lights that kind of create a purple light, and the red lights actually encourage flowering and blooming, and the blue lights encourage the leaves and the stems to be very strong. So I have some different plants that I'm propagating over here, and I'll talk about propagating later on in the video, as well as some plants that are just not doing super great. So I have my plant hospital over here. So that is step 1. We visited a garden. We visited my indoor garden room. So I'll just go through and see what kind of questions we have. I'm going to set my computer down. Sorry if I'm making anyone like motion sick by moving around so much. Okay, so let's see. Yes, for anyone that asks how many plants I have around 150 plants. Do I feed my plants every day? So one of the steps of this is, well, actually, I'll just talk about this right now. So all different plants have different kind of watering conditions. So some plants need to be watered more frequently than others. Other plants, like my succulents and cacti, actually store water inside of them, so they don't need to be watered as frequently. So those guys, in the winter months, I water them every other week, and I have this really cool squeeze bottle to help water them. And then I also have lots of watering cans as well. So my other plants, a lot of them I water on a weekly basis. And then as far as fertilizer, I personally don't fertilize them throughout the winter. Fertilizer is just plant food and nutrients and things like that. Plants in the wild would get this from the soil and things of that nature, but since I'm growing my plants inside and they're kind of contained with just the soil that they have, I have to add nutrients to it so that they can survive and thrive. So in the winter, I don't fertilize my plants because a lot of them do go dormant, which means that they're not growing anymore. But in the summer, I'll switch to fertilizing. Well, now that it's spring, and everything's kind of starting to grow again, I'm gonna probably start fertilizing every other week, and then I might up it to even every week in the summer. And with the fertilizer that I use, I just mix it into the watering can, and then I water with the fertilizer water. How often should you water a Christmas cactus? That's a great question. A Christmas cactus is actually it's called a cactus, but it's a tropical cactus, so it grows in more tropical conditions. It still holds a lot of water inside of those leaves, but it does need a little bit more water. With my Christmas cactus, in the winter, I really cut back on watering it, especially if you want it to bloom. You should let it go dormant and after the blooms come, but now I am watering it like every other week. And I'm sorry if this goes over a little bit. I have a lot of information to share with you all. Someone's growing lots of beans like crazy. That's so exciting. Do I ever put my plants outside? That's a great question. So I have a really nice sunny porch, and I actually just moved into this house last summer, but my plants didn't get here until August, which is the tail end. So I have some big cactuses that I plan to put outside this summer, and then I'm going to experiment with some of my other plants outside. But this guy back here, my Monstera, I actually put him outside last summer. I thought he would really like it, and his leaves got sunburned. So just like we can get sunburned, plants can get sunburned and they get big black spots on the leaves. So I'm not going to do that again. He was really mad at me when I did that. How long does catnip take to grow? I don't actually know that. I don't have catnip. Do you grow any roses? I do have some rose bushes outside. My fiance's mom, my future mother-in-law, brought some rose bushes up from my fiance's grandma's house. So I have some rose bushes outside. I don't have them inside though. Deborah asked if I have any rare plants. I have a couple of rare plants. I have a lot of more common varieties of houseplants, but I'm going to show you guys a couple of the really neat plants that I have. How often do succulents need water? Again, that is usually every other week. In the spring, I might start watering them every week, but it depends on what kind of pot you have them in and also where you're growing it. So if it's in a really sunny spot and you're using terracotta like mine, they're going to dry out a lot quicker. I'll talk about that a little bit further on in the video. Someone asked how I found my passion for houseplants. So I actually was a houseplant killer years ago. I loved houseplants, but I got a lot of succulents and cactuses and I just didn't understand how to grow them, and I ended up killing a lot. So then I started to do more research and find out why I was killing all my plants, and as I did that, I learned that different plants need different types of environments to grow and things like that. And I started to be able to grow plants and have them not die. And I just thought it was so cool that I could grow these plants in my home and that they were thriving. And it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. I have a lot of plants. So there's a ton of questions coming in. Again, I'm going to try to get to some of these after the live if I don't get to them now. But what is the biggest plant that I have? It's my rubber tree. It's actually taller than me. Maybe at the end of the video, if there's time, I'll take you guys into my dining room and show you my rubber tree. Do I ever forget to water my plants? I do. Luckily, plants, like humans, are really resilient. So if I forget to water my plants, some of them will show me that they need water by either their leaves will look really droopy and sad, or they'll start to turn a little bit brown, and then I can water them and they'll perk back up. I'm going to move on to step 2 and continue to answer questions as I see them come in. Like I said, if I don't get to your question on the live, I'll come back and answer some. So step 2 is explore garden design. So this is one step that we're not going to get to today, but I have some suggestions for how you can do it. So my first suggestion is you can design your own garden by drawing it or collaging. If you have a lot of different magazines or things like that, one thing that I thought would be really cool, and I might even do myself, is we're working on some of the outdoor landscaping at my house. So I was thinking I might take a picture of the front of my house and print that out and then collage different plants on that I cut out from magazines or print more pictures to see what my outdoor garden could look like. And then I was also going to draw a little picture. I want to plant veggies outside this summer. So I was going to draw a picture of a setup of my veggie garden. So those are 2 suggestions for how you could explore garden design. Another really cool thing that you can do to mark off that step of the badge would be to do some virtual tours of different gardens online. The suggestion for this would be to see at least 3 gardens through virtual tours. And one thing that I thought would be super cool is to explore gardens in different cultures. So I know a lot of the castles in like France and things like that have really cool and unique gardens. And then there are really neat gardens in Asia. I don't have a lot of Asian plants. I have a couple of new plants that I've been getting that are Asian plants, but they design their gardens really unique too. So I thought that another cool step, if you didn't want to go the artistic route, would be to explore virtual gardens around the world and then find out a little bit more about the people that created them. So maybe you could see one here in the US, one in Asia, and then one in Europe. For step 3, we're going to learn how to choose garden plants. And I'm going to talk a little bit about windows. So there's all sorts of windows in our homes, and each different plant needs different light conditions. So a lot of us tuning in live here in North America. We live in the Northern Hemisphere. So because we're in the Northern Hemisphere, actually our south-facing windows get the most light. So in a south-facing window, you want to grow plants that need a lot of bright sunlight. This is a great place for cactuses or succulents. And then some of the plants that can really tolerate high light conditions. Now, as you can see, I have east-facing windows over here. East-facing windows are good, east and west actually, are good for plants that need indirect light. They'll get bright light in the mornings, and then in the evenings if it's a west-facing window. But then throughout the day, they kind of get more indirect light. So I'm growing some of the plants that grow on either the rainforest floor or on the trunks of rainforest trees that are used to getting more filtered light. One thing about these plants is they are getting a little bit higher light than they're used to, my Hoyas. But one thing that's really cool about the Hoya variety of plants is that they can get sun stressed, and that does sound like a bad thing, plants getting stressed, but they turn really pretty colors. So I'm hoping some of them get a little bit sun stressed. So east and west facing windows are good for plants that need indirect light. If you have any philodendrons, that is great. Geraniums do really well in east and west facing windows. That's another flowering variety. And then north-facing windows get the least amount of light throughout the day. So this is really good for some of our low-light plants. English ivy does well. And then plants like ZZ plants and snake plants, which I have a couple of examples up here, do really well in those light conditions as well. Another thing is for plants that need indirect light, you can experiment with pulling them back from windows. So in the rest of my house, I have some plants that need more indirect light, and I have them like 2 feet away from my windows. Now this room in here is is really unique because I have windows in every single different direction. So a lot of the plants in here are getting really high light, and I actually rotate a lot of my plants in and out of this room because not all of my plants need constant light. The only ones that stay are my cactus and succulents on this wall. They're always in here and they really like it. So I'm going to catch up on the question log now. What happens when you get a lot of snails that are in your garden? Snails and other bugs can be really beneficial. I don't get a lot of snails in my indoor garden, so I don't know all of the answers to that, but some bugs can be really beneficial. I know that ladybugs actually can eat different pests and bugs that harm your plants. So some bugs are really beneficial. My aunt drowned one of her plants. That can happen sometimes. I actually have a orchid right now that I'm trying to rescue that my fiance Cody's boss drowned. So orchids are really easy to drown. Are we going to get to plant a little plant? I'm going to plant some little plants, so hopefully you guys can plant along with me. Someone said she has a humidifier that helps. Oh, that's my aunt. Be nice to her, guys. Rachel, yes, the humidifier behind me helps some of the plants that are more jungle, tropical plants get more humidity. What is my rarest plant? I think this is a question that is subject to everyone's interpretation. I think everyone has different ideas of what the rarest plant is, but one that I have right now that used to be really rare and is becoming more readily available, they're selling it at Home Depot and things like that, is my Raven ZZ. So it's actually back here behind me, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And my Raven ZZ is like a really dark black. If you don't have a sunroom, what if you don't have a sunroom or it's too cold outside? So my sunroom is just a room that I've kind of converted to my plant room, but I grow plants throughout my whole house. So you can grow plants in any windows, near any window. You can just kind of research kind of what I said, what plants do well. Where would you plant sunflowers? Sunflowers are planted usually outside. They like a lot of sun. So I would actually, the side of my house faces southwest, so if I planted sunflowers, I would put my sunflowers along that southwest wall. What kind of nutrients do you use for your plants? The fertilizer that I'm using right now is a natural fish emulsion fertilizer, and I don't know exactly what fish emulsion means, but I think it's like dead fish matter, so it's good for them. Someone posted, oh, Megan, thank you. She posted a cool virtual garden tour. Okay, I'm going to get back to some of the question, or some of the steps of the badge, sorry. So far, we visited a garden, we explored garden design, we learned how to choose garden plants, we learned how to choose indoor plants based on our windows. So now we're going to experiment with seeds. So I have two things that I'm going to show you guys for this one. The first is there are kind of three different ways that you can grow plants. You can grow plants from root, from seed, or from bulb. So I have examples of all three of those behind me. So some plants that grow from bulbs, examples would be, I think, tulips and daffodils outside. I have this amaryllis bulb that my sister got me for Christmas, and as you can see, there's this big part in the middle. That's the bulb, and it's packed with nutrients and all the things that the plant needs, and it creates roots and then also the leafy parts. So that is an example of a bulb plant. Another really cool example is chives or scallions. And these are actually some chives that I used last week. Chives are a bulb plant. They have roots at the bottom and then they grow their stalks at the top. And one thing that's really neat, especially right now where maybe we're not going to the store as much, or when you do go to the store, sometimes they're sold out of the things that you need, is with chives or scallions. This white part down here is actually the part that I cut off and used, and I stuck it in a jar of water. And this green part is all new growth from last week. So you can grow your own chives in water inside. So those are 2 examples of bulb plants. 2 examples of root plants are, someone asked my rarest plant. This is probably actually my rarest plant. I have a pink princess philodendron. We're actually going to pot this guy up. So one thing that's really cool is you can grow plants by cutting off parts of other plants. So with this pink princess down here, you can see I took part of the stem. I got a cutting. So this is part of a stem of the pink princess, and these little bumps that you can see are called nodes, and roots grow out of nodes. So I stuck this guy in water, and it has grown some really cool roots. So this is how you can grow plants from roots, and then you can also grow plants from seeds. So just sticking this guy back in water. I really wanted to focus on a type of seed that was accessible. Especially in Ohio, we have orders to not leave our home. Sorry, I'm just looking for my parts for the next step. Hopefully I can find them. But anyways, in Ohio, we have orders to not leave our home. So if I can find them, I'm going to show you guys how you can grow avocados from seeds. Now, when I say avocados, I mean this very loosely. You can grow an avocado plant from a seed, but it would probably be like 10 years before you would get a fruit, and you would have to plant it outside or keep potting it in bigger and bigger pots. So when I gave the instructions for this or made the event, I said that for part of the video, you could use seeds or dried beans. So a great way, if you don't have avocados at home, to do this step. We're on to step 4, experiment with seeds. So a great way to do this step would be if you have dried beans at home, not canned beans, dried beans. You could do this with beans. If you have an apple, you could get the seeds out of your apple. Or if you have an avocado, you could get the seeds out of the middle of your avocado. I know there's a lot of comments coming in. I don't want to make the video last too long, so I'm going to show you guys this step before I catch up on any of the questions in the question log. If I don't get to your question, I promise I will go back and answer some of the questions. So for this step, you'll need either your dried bean, your apple seed, or your avocado seed. You'll need a Ziploc bag, and then you'll also need a damp paper towel. So actually, just in case anyone does have these things and wants to follow along, if you want to gather those really quick, I'll answer a couple questions and give you a moment to run around and get those things. Any tips for growing sunflowers? I haven't grown sunflowers since I was a little kid, but I believe they're pretty easy. They just like a lot of sun, and they need to be watered frequently, especially if you live in a state that it doesn't rain as much. Make sure you're going along with your watering can. Maybe if I have a friend in the comments that has experience growing sunflowers, they could tell me or tell our friends their tips. What is your least favorite plant? I don't know if I have a least favorite plant. I think all plants are really cool. A rubber tree is a tree that grows in the rainforest. Its sap has ingredients that make rubber. Yes, I'm assuming people were asking about rubber trees. I actually do have a little rubber tree in the corner over there that I can show you guys in a minute. I just sat down though. Your plants are so beautiful. Thank you so much, Amy. How do you take care of all these plants? I enjoy it. This is my hobby. This is what I do for fun. So it's just part of my routine. Do you have an air plant? I don't have an air plant. Air plants scare me. I don't understand them. Do you plant all your plants? For the most part, I do plant up all my plants. My mom has an orchid. I also have an orchid. It's up there. I have a garden outside. That's awesome. This is a funny question. Do you name your plants? I do not. So, fun fact about me is I don't really name anything. I have named one of my dogs. I have two dogs and a cat. So, one of my dogs came with her name. We did name my other dog, but then my cat also came with his name. But even when I was a kid, I didn't name things. I don't know if these are still around, but when I was a kid, I had a Bitty Baby doll, and her name was Bitty Baby. I had a blanket, as I'm sure many of you do, and my blanket's name was Blanket. I had a little stuffed animal mouse that I took around with me all the time, and his name was, wait for it, Mouse. I'm really bad at naming things. I don't like to name things. Also, I think I would forget them. So I just call my plants by their species name or their Latin name. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. I heard singing to your plants helps. Is this true? Natalie from Liberty Center. I cannot scientifically prove this, but I heard singing to your plants and playing music for your plants helps. And I've also heard that talking to your plants helps. One thing that's really, the only thing that I can think of that would be the scientific reasoning behind this is actually in nature, trees need the wind to make them stand up. The wind actually creates stress fractures in trees, and it helps them become stronger. So because of that, trees actually can't survive without the wind. So since there's not wind inside, there's kind of air conditioning and things like that. I think the science behind that is that the voice or the sound vibrations maybe of your voice are helping strengthen the plants. I have no science background, so that could be potentially completely false. Why do avocados take so long to grow? Plants from seed take a lot of time to grow. I don't have a lot of plants that are planted from seed because I'm a very impatient person. So I'm doing new things with my Girl Scout sisters. I'm growing a plant from seed. My mom loves avocados. Avocados are so yummy. Everyone loves avocados. Sorry if you don't love avocados. That's okay. Not everyone has to love them, but everyone in the comments love them. Do the seeds need to dry? So if you extract seeds from one thing that I was going to do is I do have a couple of squashes that I was going to look at extracting the seeds from, and I do believe that you have to dry those out a little bit. My avocado seeds don't need to dry out though. Okay, this should be enough time for people to have gathered the supplies. So you can grow avocados from seed all sorts of different ways, but the way that I'm going to show you guys is in a Ziploc bag. So one thing that I learned while I was researching for this is that avocado seeds actually have this protective layer on the outside for when they're inside of the plant. So this step is actually a lot easier if you do it while you're kind of washing all the avocado stuff off of the seed, but you want to peel back that layer. So one thing that I found that helps is instead of, this is hard to do on camera. Here. So instead of using your fingernail this way to peel it up, I found that it helps to get your fingernail this way. I hope you guys can see me. And kind of peel up the avocado seed outside protective layer. Now, to save you guys from being very bored of watching me peel this avocado seed, ta-da! I have one that's already peeled. I peeled this one yesterday and it's getting this really cool, weird texture. I don't know if this means that it's not going to survive. Like I said, I'm trying something new with you all. So once you have your 2 avocado seeds peeled, if you're using beans, you don't have to do this part. If you're using apple seeds, you don't have to use this part or do this part. Then you take a damp paper towel and you just want to kind of wrap it up in the damp paper towel. And you'll take your Ziploc baggie and you'll place it in the bottom and then seal the Ziploc baggie up. Now, one thing that's really cool about the Ziploc bag and the damp paper towel is the water cycle kind of happens inside of the bag. So water will kind of evaporate up to the top and then drip down the edges, and you don't have to water the seed while it's in here. Now I'm going to keep mine in a really sunny spot. I'm going to keep it in a south-facing window, and I'm going to watch it over the next week to week and a half. And during that week to week and a half, this bottom part that kind of looks like, honestly, if you're from Ohio, I think it looks like a buckeye. This is where the roots will start to come out. Oops, I just dropped it. So the roots will start to come out of this bottom part, and once the roots come out, you can either place those roots into water or you can place it into soil, and then hopefully you'll get an avocado tree start to grow. So step 4 is experiment with seeds. You can put avocado seeds or bean seeds, or just beans, I guess, or your apple seeds in our little plastic bag. And then if you have like flower seeds or something like that at home, you could just plant those in soil with the help of your adult. So we've done step 1. We visited my indoor garden. For step 2, explore garden design, I gave a couple different suggestions. If you're just tuning in, my suggestions for that are to either draw a picture or a collage designing a garden, or visit some virtual gardens online. We learned how to choose garden plants. We learned how to choose indoor plants based on the windows that we have in our home. We experimented with seeds, step 4, and then step 5 is one that I said we probably wouldn't complete all the steps of on the live. You're supposed to plant 6 plants for step 5 and grow your own garden. So you could plant 6 plants outside or plant 6 plants inside. I'm going to show you guys how to plant 2 plants inside. One is my pink princess philodendron right there. So that's a plant that I've rooted in water. So I'm going to teach you guys how to plant a plant that's been rooted in water. And then also I just have another plant. So I'm going to show you guys how to pick kind of a container for a plant that you pick up from like the store or a greenhouse or something like that. So when you're planting plants, there are a couple different types of containers that you can use inside. And I have some examples for us. The first is terracotta. Terracotta is my preferred pot to pot plant in. This is kind of a crusty terracotta. And the reason that I prefer to use terracotta is it has a drainage hole in the bottom, so extra water can drain out. But then I kind of think of this as like Under Armour for plants. So Under Armour is a type of like athletic brand, and it actually wicks sweat away. So when you're sweating, instead of like cotton holds sweat, it kind of helps it evaporate. So terracotta actually will suck up extra moisture that the plant doesn't need. So if you overwater your plant a little bit, terracotta is really cool because it will absorb the extra water. So one option is terracotta. The next option, which is my second most preferred method of potting, is to use a ceramic pot with a drainage hole. So this one's really nice because it has a drainage hole and then it has this little tray that'll catch the extra water. Since this is glazed, and that just means glaze is actually a type of coating that's when it's fired, because this is stone underneath, it's just stone ceramic. So when glaze is fired, it becomes glassy, and glass does not absorb water. So it's important to have drainage in the bottom so that extra water can drain out. The third type of pot would be a ceramic cache pot. So this is one that doesn't have a drainage hole in the bottom. So I actually would not plant a plant directly into this. I would take my little pot from the greenhouse, my little plastic grower's pot, and just put it in there like that. And I just planted one plant. And that kind of helps make sure once you water it, the extra water will be in the bottom and you can just empty it out. So that's how a cache pot works. So that is not actually one of the plants that I'm potting up for you. Don't worry, I wouldn't gyp you like that. I'm going to plant up 2 other plants over here. So I have kind of a potting station set up. So I have this tray to catch extra soil because I am planting in my house and I don't want to make a total mess. And then I have a nice big bowl of dirt. And then I have my containers. So for my pink princess philodendron, which has been rooting up in water, I'm going to use this really pretty white terracotta pot to put it in. So one thing that I like to do is so that a bunch of dirt doesn't come out of the bottom is I actually have this old potato sack and it's like plastic netting. In Girl Scouts we use our resources wisely. So I like to save these. Oranges come in them, potatoes. I'm so sorry I'm not answering a lot of questions right now. I promise I'll get to them. So I just cut the potato sack and then I put this in the bottom. And this will make sure that water can still get through, but not as much dirt will get through because this is a pretty big hole. I can fit my finger in it. So I'm going to put that little piece of potato sack in the bottom, and then I'm going to take my dirt that I have and just start to scoop some of the dirt in here. Now, since this plant is one that I have rooted up in water, has a really long root. We want to make sure that all the roots will be in water, but then the top of the plant up here is outside of, or all the roots will be in dirt, but then the top of the plant up here will be outside of the dirt. So I'm going to kind of hold him in place with one hand, and then I'm going to keep scooping dirt around. Now, when you're potting up a plant that you've rooted in water, one thing is that you don't want to pack the dirt in here. We want to give the roots room to breathe. So I just like to gently use my little scoop to scoop the dirt in, and then to kind of get it to settle a little bit, you can shake it, pat the pot gently, but I like to use my hands and just kind of get my hands in the dirt, move it around. So that was really simple. We potted up my pink princess philodendron that has grown in water. So this one does have a little tray to catch the water. So I'm going to put that just behind me. It won't fit on the shelf anymore. So that was the first plant that we potted up. And then the second plant that I'm going to pot up is, I picked this one on purpose because I like the name right now. This is my Peperomia Hope. It's really big, it's really cool. So again, I'm going to pot this in terracotta. I love terracotta pots. I like the look of them, but I also like that it helps me not overwater my plants. So when you're selecting a pot for your plant, you don't want to choose one too big. You really only want a pot that's like an inch bigger than the outside of your plant. So I have this terracotta, and if you can see, this grower's pot fits just a little bit less. There's a little gap on the inside. So this is the perfect size for this guy. So this might be kind of messy, but that's okay. Gardening is messy. If you are doing this inside, just make sure that you work with your adult at home to clean this up after you're done. So one thing that I'm doing is I'm just squeezing the sides of this grower's pot to make sure that all the roots are loosened up. And then I'm going to carefully hold the top of the plant and then shake it out. And this plant has a really nice root structure. The roots have kind of gone to the outside of the pot. So this guy was pretty ready for a repot. One thing that you can do is kind of squeeze the roots a little bit. You don't want to damage the roots here, but we do want to encourage the roots to grow in the excess soil. So I just kind of squeezed the roots, and then I'm going to place my plant at a terracotta. And as you can see, there is a little like 1 inch gap around the sides. So I'm just going to again take my scoop and fill in the sides. This is actually just a slotted spoon that I have from the dollar store. but the soil doesn't fall through it. So you can use any sort of tool. You can use a spoon, a shovel. I really like the long handle on this though, because I use this side to help make sure the soil is all settling in around the sides. So I'm going to keep on putting the soil in. It's a little bit different planting a plant that you've rooted in water than a plant that is already established in roots. But biggest advice that I have is if you're planting one that you just have gotten from the store, make sure you're choosing a good pot for it. Make sure that you're choosing a spot that's nice, that has good light when you place it, and make sure that you research your plant. That's the key to plants' happiness, is make sure you know the right way to grow it. A lot of times they'll have a tag that says what kind of plant a plant is, so you can look it up on Google. So I've only filled in one side of the dirt. I'll fill in the rest because I don't want to bore you guys, but this is what it should look like when you repot a plant. So just to recap, I'm kind of move my camera towards me. Sit down. So we did the Junior Gardener badge today. We visited my garden in the beginning of the video. If you missed that part, you can rewatch. We talked about how to explore garden design. We learned how to choose garden plants based on your windows. We experimented with my avocado seed. And then we did part of step 5. We grew our own garden by potting up 2 plants. Now, the badge requirement or the badge book suggests planting at least 6 plants. So I showed you guys how to pot one up that you've rooted in water, and then also one that you got from the store. So there are a ton of questions. I'm just gonna go towards the end. Someone said this was awesome. Like I said, I'm sorry I didn't answer all your questions as we went through, but I will take some time once the video is over, and I'm gonna wrap up here in a few minutes, to go through and answer some of your questions throughout the day and this afternoon. So I hope you enjoyed learning some more about my plants and gardening with me a little bit, and you know, have fun, explore gardens, and plant some plants. Peace out, Girl Scouts.